The morning air in Atlanta was still cool when Serena stepped out of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, pulling her carry-on behind her. She had not slept on the flight. 14 hours from Lagos, a layover in London. Then the final stretch back to the city she had called home for nearly a decade. But this was not a trip to America. This was the other direction. She had just landed in Lagos 2 days ago, and now, standing outside the domestic terminal at Murtala Muhammad, waiting for her driver to Enugu, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Nervousness. 10 years. That was how long Serena had been gone. She left at 23 with one suitcase, a student visa and a promise she whispered to her mother on the front porch of their small house in the hills outside Enugu. "I will come back for you, Mama. I will make it." And she did. Not immediately. The first 3 years in Atlanta were brutal. She cleaned hotel rooms during the day and studied computer science at night. She ate rice and beans 5 days a week. She sent nothing home because there was nothing to send, but she never stopped working. Then an internship turned into a job. The job turned into a better job, and eventually the better job turned into her own company. A small software consultancy that grew, slowly at first, then faster. By year 6, Serena was making more money in a month than her mother had seen in a lifetime. That was when the money started going home. Every single month, without fail, Serena wired money to her older brother, Warren. He still lived in Enugu. He was married now to a woman named Tanya, and they had 2 young children. Warren had always been the responsible one, the one who stayed behind when Serena left. He was the one who checked on their mother, Mama Pearl, who lived alone in the old family house after their father passed. So it made sense. Serena sent the money to Warren, and Warren made sure Mama Pearl was taken care of. That was the arrangement. Simple, clean, reliable. Or so Serena believed. She also sent extra money, separately, for a specific purpose. She wanted to build her mother a proper house. Not a mansion, but a solid, modern home with running water and a generator and a real kitchen. She had been sending construction money for 2 years now. Warren sent her updates. Photos of the foundation being laid, photos of the block walls going up, photos of the roofing. The house was almost done, he said. Mama Pearl would move in any day now. Serena smiled every time she looked at those pictures. But the truth was, she had not heard her mother's voice in a long time. Mama Pearl did not own a phone. She never learned how to use one. She could barely read. So all communication went through Warren, and lately, Warren had become harder to reach. His phone would ring and ring. When he did pick up, the conversations were short. "Everything is fine. Mama is doing well. She sends her love. Don't worry about anything here. Don't worry." Serena told herself it was nothing. Warren was busy. He had his own family now. She trusted him. So when she decided to fly home for the first time in 10 years, it was supposed to be a celebration. She wanted to surprise her mother. She wanted to walk through the front door of that new house, hold her mother's face in her hands, and say, "I told you I would come back." The car moved slowly through the early traffic of Enugu. Serena sat in the back of the sedan, watching the city pass through the window. It had changed. New buildings, new roads, new billboards. But underneath it still felt the same. The dust, the noise, the way people moved, fast and purposeful, even in the heat. She told the driver to take her to the address Warren had given for the new house. She had it saved in her phone. She had looked at it on Google Maps so many times that she could almost see the street in her sleep. But as the car turned off the main road and headed into the neighborhood, Serena's chest began to tighten. She did not know why. Something felt wrong, but she could not name it. The car slowed. The driver looked at the GPS, then at the road, then back at the GPS. "Madam, are you sure this is the right address?" he asked. Serena leaned forward. "Yes, why?" The driver pointed ahead. Serena looked. There was nothing there, an empty plot of land, overgrown with weeds and wild grass. No foundation, no walls, no roofing, nothing, not even a pile of sand or a single cinder block. Serena opened the car door and stepped out slowly. Her legs felt unsteady. She walked to the edge of the plot and stood there. The sun beat down on her shoulders. She looked left. She looked right. She checked the address on her phone again. She checked it 3 more times. This was the place. This was exactly the place. Her hands began to shake. She pulled up the photos Warren had sent. The house with the fresh blue paint, the tiled porch, the new aluminum roofing catching the sunlight. She zoomed in. She looked at the photos, then looked at the empty land in front of her. Back and forth, back and forth. None of it was real. The photos were fake, every single one of them. Serena's phone almost slipped from her hand. She caught it. She stood there, breathing hard, staring at nothing. Then she dialed Warren's number. It rang once, twice, 5 times. No answer. She called again. No answer. She called a 3rd time. Voicemail. She got back into the car. Her voice was quiet now, almost flat. "Take me to my mother's house," she said. "The old one, in the hills." The driver nodded and pulled back onto the road. The drive took 40 minutes. Serena sat in silence the entire time. Her mind was racing, but her body was perfectly still. She kept seeing those photos. The house that did not exist, the money she had sent for 2 years, the monthly upkeep, all of it. Where did it go? When they reached the old neighborhood, Serena recognized the road immediately. The same dirt path, the same row of houses, the same mango tree at the corner. But something was different. Mama Pearl's house, the one Serena grew up in, looked smaller than she remembered. The paint was peeling. The roof was patched with old zinc sheets. The front yard was overgrown. Serena stepped out and walked to the front door. She knocked, no answer. She knocked again, harder. Nothing. A neighbor, an older woman sitting on a plastic chair across the road, called out to her. "If you are looking for Mama Pearl, she is not there." Serena turned. "Where is she?" The woman looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted in her expression. Recognition, maybe, or pity. "You are her daughter," the woman said. "The one who went to America." "Yes." "Where is my mother?" The woman stood up slowly. She walked closer. Her voice dropped. "Your mother has not lived in that house for almost 2 years now." Serena's heart stopped. "What?" "The landlord took back the property. Your mother could not pay. She had nothing." The woman paused. She moved from place to place for a while, staying with different people. But after some time, nobody could keep her. Serena's legs weakened. She grabbed the car door for support. "Where is she now?" The woman's eyes filled with something heavy. "The last I heard, she was near Ogbet Market. She sleeps under the bridge, near the motor park." Serena did not remember getting back into the car. She did not remember telling the driver where to go. She only remembered arriving at Ogbet Market and stepping out into the noise and the crowd and the smell of exhaust and rotten fruit. She walked fast, almost running, through the rows of traders and parked vehicles. Her eyes searched everywhere. Then she saw her. Mama Pearl was sitting on a torn piece of cardboard near the base of the overpass. Her clothes were faded and stained. Her hair, once always neatly wrapped, was thin and uncombed. She was thinner than Serena had ever seen her. Her hands rested in her lap, and she stared at the ground with the empty look of someone who had stopped waiting for anything to change. Serena stopped walking. The noise of the market faded. Everything faded. She could only see her mother. She took one step, then another. Then she was running. "Mama!" Mama Pearl lifted her head slowly. Her eyes moved, trying to focus. She squinted against the light. "Mama, it's me." The old woman's lips parted. A small sound came out, almost a gasp. She blinked. She blinked again. "Serena." Serena dropped to her knees on the dirty ground. She wrapped her arms around her mother and held her so tightly that neither of them could breathe. Mama Pearl's body was shaking, or maybe it was Serena's body, or both. "My child?" Mama Pearl whispered. "My child, is it you?" "It's me, Mama. I'm here." They stayed like that for a long time. People walked past them. Some looked. Some did not. The market kept moving. When Serena finally pulled back, she looked at her mother's face. The wrinkles were deeper, the cheeks were hollow. Her eyes, which used to be so bright, were dim. Serena held her mother's hands. They were rough and dry and so thin she could feel every bone. "What happened to you?" Serena asked. Her voice broke on the last word. Mama Pearl shook her head slowly. "My daughter, I did not want you to know." "Know what?" Mama Pearl looked down. "Your brother told me you lost your job in America. He said you were struggling. He said there was no more money." Serena went cold. "He told you what?" "He said you could barely feed yourself, that you were in debt. He told me not to call you or bother you because you were already suffering." Mama Pearl's voice was thin, so I kept quiet. I did not want to add to your burden. Serena sat back on her heels. The ground felt like it was moving beneath her. Warren had told their mother that Serena was broke, that the money had stopped because there was no money. Meanwhile, Serena had been sending thousands of dollars every single month. For years, she helped Mama Pearl to her feet slowly, carefully, as if the old woman might break. She led her to the car and helped her into the back seat. The driver said nothing. He just started the engine. At the hospital, the doctors said Mama Pearl was severely malnourished. Her blood pressure was dangerously low. She had an untreated infection in her left leg. She was dehydrated. They admitted her immediately and began treatment. Serena sat in the hallway outside the ward. She sat very still. A phone was in her hand. She dialed Warren again. No answer. She sent a message. "I am in Enugu. I found Mama. I know everything." No reply. She tried again an hour later. This time the number was switched off. That night, Serena did not sleep. She sat beside her mother's hospital bed, watching the IV drip, listening to the beeping of the monitor, and doing math in her head. She had sent Warren roughly $800 a month for Mama Pearl's upkeep over the past 7 years. That was over $67,000. On top of that, she had sent another $40,000 for the house construction over 2 years. Over $100,000 total. Gone. All of it gone. By the next morning, Mama Pearl was already looking a little better. Color had returned to her face. She ate some porridge and drank water. She held Serena's hand and kept looking at her as if she might disappear. "My daughter," she said softly. "I prayed every night. I told God, please just let me see her one more time before I go." Serena pressed her mother's hand to her cheek. "You are not going anywhere, Mama. Not anymore." They talked for a long time that morning. Mama Pearl told her everything. How Warren used to visit once a month, then once every few months, then not at all. How Tanya never came. How the money for food and rent simply stopped arriving with no warning, no explanation. How Warren told her that Serena's company had collapsed and she was ashamed to call home. How Mama Pearl sold her furniture, then her clothes, then the small pieces of jewelry her late husband had given her. How the landlord finally locked the door and she stood on the street with a single bag. How she moved between the homes of old friends and church members until she could not ask anymore. How she ended up at Ogbete. "I thought you had forgotten me," Mama Pearl said, and the way she said it, so simply, so without accusation, was worse than any anger could have been. "Mama, I never forgot you. Not for one day." Serena's voice was steady now. "I sent money every month. I called Warren every week. He told me you were fine. He told me you were happy. He told me the house was almost ready." Mama Pearl closed her eyes. A single tear ran down the side of her face. They sat in silence. 3 days later, Mama Pearl was discharged. Serena had already rented a furnished apartment for her in a quiet part of the city. Clean sheets, a proper kitchen, a bathroom with hot water. She took her mother there, helped her settle in, and hired a woman named Mrs. Adays to cook and look after her while Serena handled what came next. Because now Serena needed to find Warren. And Warren was hiding. His phone stayed off. His old apartment was empty. The neighbors said he and Tanya had moved months ago. Nobody knew where. Serena went to the bank and pulled records of every transfer she had made. Every single one had been received. Every single one had been withdrawn, usually within 48 hours. Serena sat in her hotel room that night, staring at the bank statement spread across the bed. She felt something she rarely felt. Not sadness, not confusion, cold, focused anger. She started making calls. A lawyer first, then a private investigator. Within a week, the investigator found Warren. He and Tanya were living in Abuja. They had bought a house there, a nice one, with a gate and a generator and new furniture, paid for with Mama Pearl's money. But Serena did not go to Abuja. Not yet. She had a different idea. She called a number she had found through her research. A catering company that Tanya ran. A business Tanya had registered just 2 years ago, right around the time the construction money started flowing. The company was doing well, apparently. Serena smiled when she read that. She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. She had her lawyer contact Tanya's company. A prospective client from America wanted to hire them for a large event in Enugu, a corporate retreat. Very high budget. The client wanted to meet in person. Tanya agreed immediately. 2 weeks later, in a quiet restaurant on the outskirts of Enugu, Tanya arrived in a new dress and new shoes, carrying a leather portfolio with her company brochure inside. She was shown to a private table in the back. A young man in a suit was waiting. "Good afternoon," My employer will join us shortly, he said. No problem, Tanya replied with a polished smile. I brought everything. They made small talk for a few minutes. Then the young man excused himself. Tanya sat alone, checking her phone, adjusting her hair in the reflection of her screen. A chair pulled out across from her. Hello, Tanya. Tanya looked up. Serena sat down. She was calm. Her hands were folded on the table. She wore no expression at all. Tanya's smile vanished. The color drained from her face slowly like water seeping out of a cracked jar. Serena, she whispered. You remember me, Serena said. Good. Tanya looked toward the door. Then she looked back at Serena. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Tanya's my brother. Tanya swallowed. He is not here. I know he is not here. I asked where he is. Silence. Serena leaned forward slightly. I found my mother sleeping under a bridge, Tanya. Do you understand what I just said to you? Tanya's eyes dropped to the table. I sent money every month. For 7 years. I sent money for a house. I sent money for food, for clothes, for medicine. And my mother was on the street. So I am going to ask you once, and I want the truth. Where did the money go? Tanya did not speak for a long time. Her hands were trembling on the table. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. It was Warren, she said. Do not lie to me. I am not lying. Tanya looked up. Her eyes were wet. I know what you think, but I need you to hear me. Serena waited. Tanya took a shaky breath. When you started sending money, Warren handled all of it. I did not even know how much was coming. He kept the accounts, he managed everything. I trusted him. Serena did not blink. After about 3 years, I started noticing things. He was spending more, going out more, coming home late. I asked questions. He told me it was business investments. He told me he was growing the money. She wiped her face. But the money was not growing. It was disappearing. He had started gambling, Serena. Online at first, then the sports betting shops, then bigger things, private card games. He could not stop. Serena felt something shift inside her chest. By the time I realized how bad it was, he had already gone through most of it. The money for your mother, the money for the house, all of it. Tanya's voice cracked. He owed people, dangerous people. He was terrified. I was terrified. And you said nothing. I wanted to. I tried. I told him we had to tell you. He said no. He said if you found out, you would stop sending money, and then he would have no way to pay back what he owed. He said they would come for him. For us. For our children. She broke down. Tears streamed freely now. He faked the photos of the house. He found construction pictures online and edited them. Every time you asked about your mother, he made me stay quiet. He said if I opened my mouth, everything would collapse. Serena sat back. The restaurant was quiet around them. A ceiling fan turned slowly overhead. Where are your children? Serena asked. They are with me in Abuja. Tochukwu is 7 now. Adiese is 4. Tanya hesitated. They do not know any of this. And the house in Abuja? Tanya looked down again. He bought it with the construction money. He said it was an investment, that he would sell it later and build your mother's house. But he never did. Serena closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her voice was different. Quieter, heavier. She said Warren told her I was broke, that I had lost everything. She said she spent 2 years thinking her own daughter had abandoned her. She sold her jewelry. She sold her late husband's things. She begged for food. Tanya covered her mouth with both hands. She slept on cardboard, Tanya, my mother, on cardboard. The words hung in the air like smoke. Then Serena stood up. I need you to bring Warren to me, tomorrow. If he does not come, the next conversation will be with the police. Tanya nodded quickly, unable to speak. The next day, Warren came. He walked into the same restaurant with his head already lowered. He looked like he had aged 20 years. He was thinner than Serena remembered. His clothes were wrinkled. His eyes were bloodshot. He sat down across from his sister and did not look at her. Serena, I don't. He stopped. I am not here to listen to excuses, Serena said. I am here because you are my brother and I deserve to hear the truth from your mouth. Warren pressed his palms against his forehead. His body shook. When he spoke, the words came out in pieces. It started small, a bet here, a bet there. I won some. I felt like I could control it. Then I lost, and I chased the loss, and I kept chasing. He let out a sound that was somewhere between a laugh and a cry. I told myself every month, next month I will stop. Next month I will send Mama her share. Next month I will start building the house. But next month never came. He looked up for the first time. His eyes were red and swollen. I was ashamed. Every time you called, I wanted to tell you. But how could I? How could I tell my younger sister that I failed at the one thing she trusted me to do? Serena said nothing. And then it got worse. I owed people money. Bad people. They came to the house. They threatened Tanya. They threatened the children. His voice dropped. So I used the construction money to pay them off. I told myself it was temporary. I would find a way to replace it, but you didn't. No. He shook his head. I didn't. The silence that followed was long and absolute. Then Serena spoke. Her voice was controlled, but underneath it, there was a tremor. You let our mother live on the street, Warren. You told her I had failed. You took away the one thing she had left, which was believing that her children loved her enough to take care of her. You stole that from her. Warren broke. He put his face in his hands and wept. Deep, ugly, shaking sobs that drew stares from the few people in the restaurant. Serena watched him. She did not look away. She did not comfort him. After a long time, she spoke again. Here is what is going to happen. The house in Abuja will be sold. Every naira of that sale goes back to Mama. You will sign a statement detailing everything you did, every amount, every lie. That statement goes to my lawyer. Warren nodded through his tears. You will also go to Mama. You will look her in the face and tell her the truth. All of it. Not a version, not an excuse. The truth. He nodded again. And Warren. She waited until he looked at her. You are going to get help. Real help. A proper program, because what you have is a sickness. And if you do not treat it, you will destroy what is left of your family. He stared at her. Something in his expression shifted. Not relief exactly, but a recognition that someone was finally saying the thing he could not say to himself. I will, he whispered. That afternoon, Serena drove Warren to the apartment where Mama Pearl was staying. She stayed in the hallway and let him go in alone. She heard everything through the thin wall. She heard him say, Mama, I need to tell you something. She heard the silence that followed. She heard the explanation come out in broken sentences. She heard Mama Pearl gasp. She heard her cry. She heard Warren say, I am sorry, Mama. I am so sorry. She heard Mama Pearl say nothing for a long time. Then she heard her mother's voice, quiet and steady. My son, I am old. I have lost many things, but I have not lost my children. Not yet. Do you hear me? Not yet. Serena pressed her back against the wall in the hallway and closed her eyes. Tears ran down her face, but she did not make a sound. In the weeks that followed, things moved quickly. The house in Abuja was listed and sold. The money was placed in an account that Serena controlled directly. Warren entered a rehabilitation program in Lagos that specialized in gambling addiction. Tanya and the children, Tochukwu and Adieze, moved back to Enugu to be closer to Mama Pearl. Serena hired a builder she personally vetted and began construction on the house she had been paying for all along. This time, she visited the site herself every 3 days. She watched every block go up. She counted every bag of cement. She also opened a bank account in her mother's name and set up a system where money went directly from her account in Atlanta to her mother's account. No middleman, no brother, no one in between. She bought Mama Pearl a simple phone and taught her how to answer it, slowly, patiently, over many afternoons on the porch. Press the green button, Mama. This one? Yes, that one. And then I talk, and then you talk. The first time Serena called from Atlanta and Mama Pearl answered the phone herself. Neither of them spoke for the first few seconds. They just listened to each other breathe. I can hear you, my daughter, Mama Pearl said. I can hear you too, Mama. 3 months later, the house was finished. A real house this time. White walls, a blue roof, a small garden in front, running water, a backup generator, 2 bedrooms, one for Mama Pearl and one for visitors, a kitchen with a gas stove and a proper refrigerator. On the day Mama Pearl moved in, the whole family was there. Serena had flown back from Atlanta. Tanya came with the children. Even Warren was there, thinner now but clearer in the eyes. 6 weeks into his program, Mama Pearl stood in the doorway of the new house for a full minute without speaking. She touched the frame with her fingers. She looked at the tiles on the floor. She looked at the curtains on the windows. Then she turned around and looked at all of them. Is this truly mine? She asked. It is yours, Mama, Serena said. This is your home. Mama Pearl stepped inside. She walked slowly through each room, touching the walls, opening the cabinets, running her hand along the kitchen counter. When she reached the bedroom and saw the bed, properly made with clean sheets and pillows, she sat down on the edge and pressed her hands together. She did not cry. She had cried enough. She simply said, "Thank you, Lord." That evening, they all sat together in the small living room and ate. Tochukwu and Adizi ran back and forth through the house, laughing, discovering new things, slamming doors and opening them again. Mama Pearl watched them with a look on her face that Serena had not seen in 10 years. It was peace. Not the kind of peace that means everything is perfect. The kind that means the worst is over, and what remains is worth holding on to. Later that night, after the children had fallen asleep on a mat in the living room, Serena and Mama Pearl sat together on the front porch. The evening air was warm. Crickets sang in the grass. The neighborhood was quiet. "Serena," Mama Pearl said softly. "Yes, Mama. Promise me something. Anything. Never stop checking on the people you love. No matter how far away you are. Never trust silence. Silence is not peace. Sometimes silence is where the suffering hides." Serena reached over and held her mother's hand. "I promise, Mama." They sat together in the quiet, listening to the crickets, watching the stars appear one by one above the roof of the house that was finally, truly theirs.